Al Jazeera Podcasts.
A Rolls-Royce Phantom glides through traffic in the city of London. It turns the corner and stops at the offices of Moving City estate agents. A chauffeur jumps out and opens one of the car's famous backward opening rear doors.
Hello, sir.
Thank you. Hello.
How are you?
Thank you very much.
The passenger is Ripin Mahmood, Moving City's owner.
This is a Phantom or Ghost? I thought it's Ghost, but it's Phantom, right?
It is, yes, it is a Phantom.
This car costs nearly $500,000. But that doesn't seem to faze Ripin Mahmood.
I was about to buy one.
So were you really?
My wife told me if you buy one, I'll chop your leg off.
Which leg was she going to chop off?
He works with extremely rich clients. One of them was Bangladesh's Minister of Land, who owns about 350 properties in the UK alone. But today, Ripin has a different client on his mind, someone new. The same man who just sent this fancy car to pick him up.
So then our undercover guy, Billy Lee, is this big Chinese billionaire, very wealthy family.
Ripin doesn't know much about this Billy Lee guy. He knows he's rich, but also that doing business with him is complicated.
Family's got major problems.
This is Adrian Gatton, one of the main investigators on this story. He helped develop Billy Lee's cover story that his family are in prison in China.
People are being put under sort of house arrest, got major problems with the Chinese government.
What Ripin also doesn't know is that Billy Lee's family problems aren't real. Neither is Billy Lee, for that matter. In fact, aside from the car, nothing about this situation is as it seems. Billy Lee and his chauffeur are part of an undercover team working for the AJI unit. We needed to gather conclusive evidence about the services he offers to his high net worth clients. So, we set up an undercover sting, a cover story that attempts to mimic the waters of the super rich that guys like Ripin swim so comfortably in. And so far, he's taken the bait.
So we rented a suite at the Savoy, which is one of the most prestigious, grandest old hotels in London. Ripin comes to meet Billy Lee, and Billy Lee's got his bodyguard, and he's got his personal assistant in the family office, and he's got this fantastic room, great views of the Thames. I mean, this is well over the top.
We're going all in here. Room at the Savoy, Rolls-Royce Phantom, chauffeur, bodyguard, personal assistant, fine foods, the works. For the super rich, it's nothing. But for journalists like us, this is big bucks. This has to work.
How does Ripin react?
Totally at ease.
Totally at ease.
Absolutely at ease.
So the Rolls Royce isn't too much. He's not suspecting.
He likes the Rolls Royce, yeah, right? And he likes the hotel. He likes the setting.
And we can see him getting more and more comfortable.
Ripin starts to open up because it's what they call the greed factor.
You've passed the test.
And Ripin, he knows about money. He's looking out the window and saying, oh, see that block there? Yeah, actually, I bought loads of flats there, yeah.
Actually, this building, we got about 8 flats there.
This is Al Jazeera Investigates. I'm Kevin Hirten. Welcome to The Minister's Millions, Episode 3, The Network. It all started with a tip. A high-profile Bangladeshi politician had been buying up property all over the world. He's a PEP, a politically exposed person, the highest-risk client. That's because there is a risk that PEPs have dirty money earned through corruption. In the last episodes, we showed you how we identified and tracked down his UK-based estate agent, Ripon Mahmood. We're hoping he'll be our way in to a world of opaque finance that helped a Bangladeshi politician become one of the largest private landlords in all of Britain. And show you how the system in place that allowed that is driving up housing prices for all of us. To better understand how this politically exposed person, a PEP from Bangladesh, built his property empire, we invented our own PEP, Billy Lee.
People like them come to us, we give them a solution.
Billy is part of Al Jazeera's Undercover team, posing as someone with lots of money to spend, but with a murky past. And now he's meeting with Ripon Mahmood at the Savoy Hotel in London.
Hello.
Hi.
It's Ripon.
Ripon, right?
Ripon, first to meet you.
Yeah. Call me Billy.
Billy? Very good to meet you.
Yeah.
Billy Lee brings Mahmood up to speed on his family problems.
My family had a very big company group started in China.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my father was arrested in China.
Oh dear. I'm sorry to know that.
It's okay. He's been arrested for a while.
He says his father was arrested for financial fraud and that his uncle is a powerful politician who is also under arrest in China. Considering the family situation, Lee is eager to move his wealth to a safer jurisdiction.
We still have a lot of money in China. I like to move a lot of our finance into UK to diversify.
So are you going to put in a bank or are you going to invest in an asset?
Asset.
And just in case there was any doubt, one of Billy Lee's advisors states the obvious.
So just to state the obvious, it would be PEP money, and there are these charges, although they are appealing them, but that would still be possible.
This is when Ripon starts to go to work. He understands the gravity of Billy Lee's legal problems, but that doesn't put him off at all.
Let's talk.
He offers to help Billy Lee start buying up property.
You could get the top, best quality developer.
Oh yeah. They are the... I work with the Barclay Group. Barclay is one of the biggest.
He tells Billy Lee he works with one of the UK's biggest home builders, Barclay Group, even claiming to work with the company's then executive director, Paul Vallone.
I work with Paul Vallone himself. He's the executive director. It's a big company. But I know every single sales director because I work with them all the time.
When asked about this later, Moving City said that it had never introduced any PEPs to Barclay Homes. Then, during that undercover conversation, like any good salesman, Ripon tells Billy Lee it's always better to buy in bulk.
They got development everywhere. Riverside, Fulham, Kings Road. I mean, we just go there, 20, 30, 40 units we buy.
20, 30, 40 units you buy. We showed this footage to Dr. Sue Hawley of the nonprofit Spotlight on Corruption.
This is the guy at the heart of making sure that the overseas market is the one that big British house builders are trying to get their business from. This is the business model.
And what about the concerns about Billy Lee's ultra-high-risk PEP family criminal history? Here's top anti-money laundering barrister Anita Clifford.
If a person is coming forth in the first few conversations, they're making very clear that either they or their family have been under investigation for something as serious as corruption or fraud, that would make me very nervous from an anti-money laundering perspective.
Estate agents put in this position, if they were really genuinely scared of their regulator, would be going, I'm sorry, this is really not my bag, I can't help you.
In response, Mahmood said he believed the source of the funds were legitimate and that he always carries out required anti-money laundering checks and the estate agency does not move money. During that undercover meeting, Billy Lee asks him about the return on investment and where in the UK he should consider buying up property.
What would be the guaranteed return for the asset, like property?
Rippon's response is ruthless and a bit dismissive.
So for you, what do you have to think? Rippon, I don't care. I just want yield to be there.
I just want the yield to be there, he says. Then he goes on. You're never going to see this investment, he tells Billy. You're never going to visit them.
You're never going to see this investment. You're never going to visit them.
This bit did not sit well with affordable housing advocate Chris Bailey.
He's saying, you need to look at this stuff. You don't care whether it's in Mayfair or Bromley. You just want the yield. I just want the yield. That is exactly the business they are in. And they're just looking at the maximum amount of money you can extract from the unfortunate British renting population.
It is a kind of standing shame of the city, in my view.
Urban sociologist Professor Roland Atkinson.
We've seen really perverse arguments that, London is in the midst of a desperate housing crisis, and therefore we need the money of the rich of the world to produce new homes in the city. The only thing that rains down on other people in the city is higher housing prices.
There's something else about how Rippon Mahmood operates that jumps out. Something new about the advice he offers Billy Lee on where to buy property. It kind of goes against the conventional wisdom. Here's Adrian Gatton.
In the old days, everyone knows, the Russian oligarch buys the mansion,
Or the tower in Vauxhall.
Yeah, you just want to buy something and you're going to park your cash there. This is different. We're looking at like 2-bed, 3-bed apartments, kind of like the mid-market of property.
Yeah.
But the reason you put your money in there is that you're going to get a return.
Right.
So you're not going to buy hundreds of flats and leave them empty. You're buying hundreds of flats because they're going to be managed and they're going to be rented out to young professionals and they're going to pay massively inflated rents because everybody's paying crazy rents.
So it's not just the high-end prime locations anymore. These guys are buying in bulk all over the country and driving up prices. This is Rippon Mahmood in an undercover recording laying out the new strategy.
Instead of buying 3 million one flat, I'll buy you 20 of them. Then we throw in money zone 2, 3, 4, 5, even Kent, Surrey.
Zones 2, 3, 4, and 5 are London's suburbs, stretching out into the counties outside the city. Chris Bailey, national director of the affordable housing nonprofit Action on Empty Homes, found this phenomenon both surprising and incredibly alarming.
International investors aren't just investing in prime London now. They're investing all the way out into what's sometimes called the donut boroughs, out into Surrey, up into Manchester and Liverpool. So we're seeing an effect where that inflated price that you've seen in London, you're seeing that cascading out through the rest of the country.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm great.
This is Sabine Mary, a social housing advocate and my tour guide for the day.
So when you get to the estate, you'll see how green it is.
She's also a resident of this housing estate in Crystal Palace, South London. It's one of those Zone 3 neighborhoods that overseas property investors have their eyes on.
So this is Central Hill Estate, and as you'll see when we walk around, it has very beautiful views.
Central Hill is a time machine to a different era, an era when Britain had much different priorities. 450 social homes built in the late 1960s. It was built with almost utopian ideals in mind, dubbed at the time a perfect modernist suburb. This was quality housing for working people.
They're homes that really, when they were built, were supposed to be for anyone. It's supposed to be a home that people in employment can live in, the bricklayer or even the nurse or the doctor.
It's called Central Hill for a reason, and we are getting a vigorous walk-in.
Let's go up this way.
Okay.
It kind of hugs the landscape. It's on a slope, so it's a very beautiful place.
It's beautiful here.
But the utopian ideals of old are long gone. Central Hill's days may be numbered.
So what's it like to be living in a council that's being threatened with demolition. How does that feel?
Oh, it's terrible. You're just on edge a lot of the time.
Central Hill was slated for demolition in 2017. The council wanted to raise the place and build new housing, more housing actually. But most of the new units would be on the market for private sale. The process has dragged out as residents like Sabine have fought back. And the interim has been hard on people.
So this place is in a state of limbo.
Yes. No one can sell a property that's facing demolition. No one can get a mortgage to buy. And up until that point, there was a very healthy, natural turnover.
The Lambeth Council has defended the plan, saying it will actually slightly increase the number of social rent units in the area, while building hundreds of new and needed private homes. But for residents like Sabine, that just means this place will soon be full of properties that are totally unaffordable to the residents of Central Hill.
And the rents here are just much, much lower, right?
Yes. For a one-bedroom flat, it's probably less than 400. And for a 3-bedroom, it's about 600 to 700. And that's the council rent.
Yeah, you don't like the term subsidized housing.
My estate, when it's fully inhabited, can generate £2 million a year. It is actually an asset. Homes for everyone, that was the vision when they were built.
We'll tell you why that vision from the past might just be the hope for the future. That's after a quick break.
The Inside Story podcast dissects, analyzes, and helps define major global stories. We get into the details with experts who explain how policies affect people. The Inside Story podcast by Al Jazeera. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Central Hill is still hanging on, but many estates like it have already been destroyed.
It beggars belief that around about an estimated 200,000 people have been displaced in the city by the destruction of social housing, while we're making all these concerted efforts to build handfuls of very, very expensive apartments in other parts of the city.
This is Professor Roland Atkinson. He's an urban sociologist and the author of the book Alpha City: How London Was Captured by the Super Rich. I met up with Roland at a London neighborhood that was once practically synonymous with social housing.
The next station is Elephant and Castle.
So what was Elephant and Castle known for prior to this era?
One of the largest public housing estates in Western Europe, built in the early 1970s.
That's all gone now. It's been replaced by luxury apartment blocks. In fact, our favorite politically exposed former Minister of Land for Bangladesh, Saifa Zaman Chowdhury, actually owns property here.
Okay, we've come to 2 Deacon Street, where we've found that our PEP has an apartment. So if you want to ask the question, who's buying these places, I think we have our answer, don't we?
It'll be quite a lot of offshore purchasing off-plan. A lot of this stuff is empty now.
In the distance, we see a number of very modern-looking tower blocks, single-family units, and then there's a giant construction project.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
So what led to the housing estate movement? Because that was a choice by the government to build this very specific type of housing.
Yeah, so you need to go back to the post-war period.
The war to end the tyranny was, like all wars, appallingly destructive.
London had suffered enormous bomb damage. There was a need for construction for new homes. And because of the need for so many homes in a lot of instances, the system-built large housing estate was seen as the way to go. Now, I think, with the benefit of hindsight, that was kind of, problematic in some respects that you had a lot of low-cost housing condensed in one place. But the residents had an affordable, secure, and at that time pretty high-quality residence. see the old films and the pictures of people moving in, being delighted at essentially moving out of slum conditions in 1950s and 60s London into these new flats.
David, how'd you like your new home?
Yes, thank you.
What do you particularly like about it?
We have the toilet to ourselves now, whereas in the other house, we had to share one.
What do you think of the buildings? Are they too modern for you?
No, they're not too modern.
Anything you miss from the old place?
No. Glad to get away with it.
So for a time, they really delivered.
But the attractive open spaces have become bleak, vandalized wind traps. Residents say they're the haunt of teenage gangs.
By the late 1970s and 80s, the housing estate conjured up a much different image than from its heyday just a few decades earlier.
The real problem was a decline in the level of public support, revenue funding to maintain those properties.
One of the biggest estates in London, it's always suffered more than its fair share of hooliganism, vandalism and muggings.
So the reputation of public housing declined, and people were looking in a kind of aspirational phase for 70s and 80s to own their own home. That was being pushed heavily by Margaret Thatcher from 1980. You had the right to buy.
We put through a policy of purchasing council houses by their tenants, a policy from which many, many people have profited and are very grateful for that.
That was the nail in the coffin for public housing. The levels of public housing construction tail off dramatically. And standing here 43 years later, a lot of housing commentators and analysts are saying that public housing is precisely what we need. Because what you're seeing around us here, I would argue, is really symbolic of kind of market failure in housing. You've got high-cost housing, which is being purchased by internationally wealthy individuals who are buying into spaces to use these places less as homes and more as tradable assets. Private rented sector is delivering for landlords like crazy, while everyday people are essentially screwed by that system.
Back at the peaceful surroundings of Central Hill Estate, Sabine is finishing our tour.
Let's crack on, because I need to show you the view as well.
Okay, great.
Oh, there we go. This is why this is such a valuable place for developers. Okay, I get it now. So we're sitting here, we're in the middle of the estate, and we're seeing in the distance a perfect view of the City of London. You can see the Shard, you can see the walkie-talkie, you can see the Gherkin. That's London. You could see this on a brochure being sold all over the world. City views. It's almost like there's this implicit idea, this view is too good for the people who live here.
Yeah, it's probably explicit as well.
So far, the resistance has worked. In March of 2024, the Lambeth Council indicated that its plan to demolish Central Hill is on hold. On a clear day like this, you can almost make out the London branch office of DBS Bank, which is one of the financial institutions that Ripon Mahmood recommended to our Chinese businessman and fake pep, Billy Lee. In an attempt to mirror the circumstances of Minister Chowdhury, Billy Lee told Ripon that he has more than $155 million that he wants to bring in through London's property market. The problem is, it's stuck in China.
Money in China. Do you have experience or?
You're talking about £120 million, and we have to think very secure line to get money out.
He said, quote, "We have to think of a very secure line to get the money out." Billy Lee, though, wants to make sure that Ripon Mahmood has experience moving very large amounts of cash.
To send money from China. What is the biggest amount you have for?
The biggest transaction a year, about 259 million.
He said he did a single transaction of £259 million in a single year.
From China?
Not China. Very complicated country.
From a, quote, very complicated country. Could this be his first veiled reference to his super pep client from Bangladesh?
They are eye-watering sums.
Dr. Sue Hawley.
Until we make sure that the whole of our economy is actually about servicing the British people and not about wealthy elites from overseas, we're going to struggle to stamp this out.
It's even more eye-watering when you consider that many of the complicated countries Hirten keeps talking about have strict currency controls. For example, in a place like Bangladesh, citizens are only allowed to transfer $12,000 a year out of the country. And this right here is why we've gone to all this trouble.
How did the money get from Bangladesh, which has strict controls on exporting money? How the hell did it get to Britain? We've got it all on paper, but we don't know the inner workings of it.
Hirten Mahmood might be a snappy dresser and a good talker, but he's not a miracle worker. He's not doing 259 million pounds of transactions in a single year, as he claims, without a lot of help.
We knew quite a lot about Hirten's setup. We wanted to meet the whole network. Hirten lays out his stall, his contacts. He says, I can introduce you to these people and these people.
We build the connections. We have a tax advisor, lawyer, people in the bank, which we work together.
We're talking about this class of individuals who are looking to rework the fabric of the city to bring in people with large bundles of cash.
So Hirten opens up to us about his network, starting with Rahul Mard, a private wealth manager at DBS, one of the biggest Asian banks.
Rahul Mard is a good friend of Hirten. DBS Bank is lending to the minister.
By 2023, DBS made 19 loans to the minister's companies. So that's the banker. Next up is the lawyer. Subir Desai is a partner at Charles Douglas Solicitors,
which is a sort of boutique law firm in the centre of Mayfair. So Subir has two roles there. He's one of the people that runs the firm, and also he's the guy who's the money laundering officer.
Since 2021, Charles Douglas Solicitors has done legal work on over 100 loan transactions for Chowdhury's companies, working on refinancing properties Chowdhury already owned. So a banker, a lawyer, and the last one is the lender, a bridge finance lender named Paresh Raja.
Paresh, a very good friend of mine, he's a CEO. Anything problem, I call him.
Paresh Raja runs a company called Market Financial Solutions Limited, MFS, and he has become a major player in what is a very kind of hot scene in London, the world of bridge finance.
Bridge finance offers short-term, high-interest loans.
After the financial crash, obviously banks got into deep, deep trouble. More and more regulation was put onto the conventional banks, making it also harder to lend. The bank wants to lend to you. They want to know all about you. Can we lend to you? Can you afford to pay it back? There's a property there. I need to buy it in 3 days. Bank can't deal with it, so I need to get short-term bridge finance.
It's an industry that is regulated differently than traditional banks, which gives them flexibility.
They pride themselves on dealing with complicated clients. You know, they say that on their website. We deal with complicated clients, and we will find you a solution.
You can add to the list of complicated clients the former land minister of Bangladesh, Saifuzzaman Chowdhury. Paresh Raja's company, MFS, and his associated businesses have made hundreds of loans to the minister. Here's Chris Bailey of Action on Empty Homes.
What you're seeing here is a kind of network. Clearly it's quite important, and clearly it is expanding the minister's reach.
Bailey says the money and the property that Chowdhury leveraged through Rippon's financial contacts point to a larger problem for everyday people just trying to get a leg up.
It's no longer a housing market. That's the thing. It's an asset market. It's an investment market. But unfortunately, at the bottom end, it's excluding people.
We put our findings to all mentioned in this episode. Charles Douglas Solicitors, LLP, Market Financial Solutions, Parish Raja, DBS Bank, Barclay Group, PLC, London Property Broker Limited, trading as Moving City, and Rippon Mahmood state that they conducted all anti-money laundering checks required by law, including enhanced due diligence for PEPs. The advisors say that the recent events in Bangladesh was not information available to anyone conducting historic AML or KYC checks. They also state that funds used to purchase UK properties came from Mr. Chowdhury's legitimate businesses in the UAE, UK, and the US, not Bangladesh. Rippon Mahmood says he never introduced PEPs to either Paul Vallone or Barclay Homes. Saif Zaman Chowdhury says the funds used to buy property in the UK come from his legitimate and long-standing businesses outside of Bangladesh. Next time on Al Jazeera Investigates, it's finally time to meet the minister.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Lee.
Worlds are colliding. Rippon Mahmood's two PEPs meet. One is real and one is fake. This episode was written and produced by me, Kevin Hirten, with Adrian Gatton. Craig Pennington is our sound designer. Additional editing help from Manny Panaretos. Clean Cuts does the final sound mix. Will Thorne is the show's executive producer. Rafi Mustafa is Al Jazeera's acting director of investigative journalism. And Nate Alvarez is Al Jazeera's head of audio. We will see you next time.